Building a cohesive and good-looking village is not easy, and while good-looking is subjective, there are a few rules that you can follow that will massively up your game and make your villages look larger than life. So in this video, we're going to go over 10 tips to master village building in Medieval Dynasty. So the first step is going to be about creative settings. Now this first part's really going to depend where you are in the game, but in terms of what I would do personally, I would turn on 200% building limit, I would turn on unlimited carry weight, I'd turn on fast building and crafting, I'd stop dropped items from spoiling, and I'd probably turn the days up to 30 if I wanted to decorate in a specific season. But for the most part, I just leave everything else at default. I've already unlocked everything, so I don't need to mess with multipliers. And if you haven't unlocked everything yet, and you just want to unlock everything, just turn your XP multipliers up to 1,000. This will make it so that everything that you do gives you a 10 times multiplier in XP, so you'll unlock things way faster than normal. But really, this is ultimately up to how you want to play the game. Now, my next tip is going to be about photo mode. Now, if you stick to the menu above custom game, there is this photo mode setting. And this is mainly made so that people can take screenshots and stuff. But if you go to camera mode, you can have like a free flight mode where you can just go over your village and look around. And this can be really useful when you're trying to line certain things up or just get really cool shots of your village. I use photo mode a whole lot. It's definitely a very useful tool in the game to use. Now, when you try and decide how you want your village to look, sometimes it's going to be hard or you may not have any ideas. And one really nice thing you can do when trying to find some inspiration is just kind of just like checking around the other villages and seeing what they have built. Obviously, some of the items in the villages you won't be able to place, but a lot of these items are just placeable items. You can also check out the community hub on Steam. There's usually some good screenshots on there or some good village pictures. They can definitely give you some good ideas. Or another really good place, obviously, is just YouTube. Go look up Medieval Dynasty village tours. Some good examples would be It's Me Bros or Pampa Pampa. Both of them have some pretty unique builds, and I definitely recommend checking them out if you want some good ideas. So tip 4 would be picking a good location. Now, I am south of Piestovia right now, not too far from the waterfall right here. And this is probably one of the more popular locations a lot of people like to build their village. It's got the waterfall, it's got a cave nearby so you can get metal, and it's relatively safe and not too far from Piestovia, so if you need to pick up any resources, you don't have to go too far. I would say the easiest places that you're going to build are going to be flat areas. So that could be maybe west of Piestovia over here, south of Piestovia. You could even go north of Piestovia. Honestly, when people are building their first villages, I recommend them building near Piestovia just because it's easier to get back and forth. I do have 2 videos that show 10 different locations for both the valley and the oxbow. I'll have the video links in the description if you want to see some specific locations. Now, my next tip is going to be about placing roads. There is a little trick when it comes to placing roads here. Placing roads over certain items like the rocks here, the berry bushes. If you put a road over these items, the little foliage here, if you end up destroying your roads, those bushes, the foliage, the rocks, they're gone permanently. Like, they are not going to come back. And I should also mention, it's not only roads that do this, but a lot of objects will also delete items. For the most part, fences shouldn't delete bushes or rocks though. Now, there is always a chance that you just don't want the bush or the rock. In that case, it is easy to just build over and destroy the road, and then it'll just never be there. Now, when it comes to placing roads, I do like to run and then like place a road every half second. And this does give like a little bit of fluidity to the road rather than just having like straight or hard curves. Because now if we're looking at the map here, it looks a lot more natural when you just place it every once in a while. Because if you're ending up like doing a long road right here, and then you're like, okay, I want to go this way now, and maybe I want to have a road that goes this way. While you definitely could still do this, it might look a little less natural, especially when you're looking at it from a top end. It's going to be much more obvious there is hard corners. Whereas if you're checking this little road I built over here, you'll notice from a top angle, it doesn't look as bad. It looks pretty organic when it comes to like a curved road. And that's the nice thing about village building. It's kind of like subjective. There is no like one good way to build a village. And sometimes you come out with a really cool looking road. I don't know. I would totally build a village off of this road, to be honest. And one important place where mixing up your roads is going to matter the most is when you're building fields. Now, there's this one trick with fields in that fields, whether it's fields or orchards, they can't be rotated. So they have to essentially face the north, south, east, west axis. So if I place this field here, there is no way to rotate this. If I put another field down, it's going to be aligned with this field. No matter where I am on the map, the fields will be aligned to the north, south, east, west axis. So when you want to build a field or a homestead, you need to think about this ahead of time, whether you're decorating, placing buildings, or putting your roads down. Now, my next little tip is going to be about move mode. I built a little resource storage right here to kind of give a little example. If you have a hammer in hand and you open up your build mode, there is a now relatively new at the making of this video, move mode, where you can pick up items and pretty much move them wherever you want. And that includes if you have items inside of them. But any item essentially can be moved. This building here can even be moved. Just note that if you want to place it back, it's probably not going to be as easy to get in the right position, especially if you've already decorated around it. Now, similar to move mode, we also have destroy mode. And when you turn destroy mode, you're going to have all like this red and blue lights and lines coming up. And while this does look a little ugly running around in destroy mode, this is actually very useful when it comes to placing items. Like if we're looking at this area as an example, you can see specifically the area that the pear tree is taking up and the fields are taking up. Now, this is a perfect setting to determine where you want to place like fences. So now you know you have like these little gaps here. If I wanted to place a fence through here, if I wanted to go between these fields and place a fence or like a scarecrow all the way through these little gaps in between. And it's the same way with this area too. Since I can't have roads necessarily conflict with like the benches or the campfire, I just filled in the roads where I could, and it kind of just blends in on its own. But now, especially with decorating, I would definitely use destroy mode. It is really useful. You can get things in a lot tighter fit than you normally would. And overall, it's just a very useful mechanic. Now, the next tip is going to be about planning out areas. A lot of the areas in this village here were actually planned out. Like this field, if we went to one of my early streams of this village, this field was actually one of the first things I built. And I kind of had in mind that I wanted to have 2 fields on both sides with the road going up the middle. When it comes to building houses, definitely think about the amount of space you want to use around the house. And knowing who lives there and what their job is makes it a bit easier, because then you can use that as an easy indicator of how to decorate their place. And then when it comes to like workplaces, for example, this tavern over here was meant to be like a center point of the village with a bunch of markets just wrapped around it. And while not all of it was planned, this one little idea really helped flesh out this area. So I also have a food stall here that would sell more food. I have the house of the tavern worker that lives here. I got bathrooms in the back. We have a well in case we need water, and a kitchen just for more food making. If we go over to the other side of town here where I have another tavern, in the center right here we have a little bell tower. This is essentially another little landmark. And it doesn't just have to be a bell tower. It could be a tree, a dovecote, a pillar, etc. Even this, while it's not necessarily very decorated here, it's filling out the negative space of the village. And a lot of times adding things to the negative space makes it pop even further. Other examples I can think of off the top of my head would be like making neighborhoods, maybe keeping houses not necessarily super close to each other, but far apart enough that they have their own little living space, maybe their own yards. Maybe the houses are homesteads, so you could combine houses with workplaces. Now, tip 9 would be using the items you have at your disposal to make custom creations. I think a great example of this would be like the 2 privies right here, where if you bunch them together, it kind of looks like a little shed. Another custom creation I have is by my village sign right here, which is like a little wagon drop-off area. And this is essentially like a pier, 2 pieces of the pier ramps together, and then just some log walls around it and some benches inside. So we've turned using piers and walls into a little like bus stop essentially. Another example, this would be like making your own little herb gardens, whether it be next to your herbalist or by housing. Another custom creation I have in this village would be the arena that I made using piers and walls. Another thing you could do is combine fences. You can take a iron fence and don't build it, but you still have the pillars, and then take another fence, like a stick fence or something, and connect it. So now when you don't have your hammer out, it almost looks like you have a stick fence with stone pillars rather than the iron fence. And you can do this with different types of fences. So you can do this with all types of fences. If you see right here next to the walls of the tavern, we have 2 different fences going around the tavern. We got the log fence, and we have the ornate fences taking up the little gaps in front of the fences. And sometimes it's just these like little custom details like this that make the village really unique or stand out a bit more. And then my last tip here is going to be finishing touches with placeables. Now, if you want to get in the nitty gritty of decorating, like I'm outside the building hut right now. The placeables I'm talking about are like these figurines, these glass bottles, toolboxes, all these little placeable items that are just items that you craft or you buy and putting them on the ground yourself. So a lot of these would be like using planks as foundations for the floor, adding vases and bottles into the taverns, You may have noticed, but in the little tavern area here, we have like a bunch of fruits and clay vases and stuff. Even with the hunter's house, we have like the ivory knife, the glass bottle, and some carvings. Basically, all these items give a little bit of visual storytelling for your village that makes it feel more lived in. I mean, this doesn't just include the placeables. This also includes like containers. This includes washcloths, scarecrows. Like, I'd like to say that a lot of the buildings, or at least a lot of the areas in my village, tell a little story. Now, I would say this is definitely the end game part of decorating. I know a lot of people don't like to place like these little items because it can be tedious when it comes to moving and maneuvering, because you actually have to like grab them and place them exactly where you want. You might accidentally knock over all your stuff. And you know what? That's gonna happen. But if you want your villages to look as best as possible, this is a part I definitely say you would have to do. One thing I really didn't talk about was putting a lot of the decorations on the outsides of houses, like planters and shutters. You use this by just pulling out your hammer and going to the buildings and changing them through here. Vary some buildings with some color. Now, if you want to find a lot of those unique decorative items like the glass bottles, you can buy them by talking to Domazir or Piestovia, or pretty much any exotic goods vendor that you may come across. But yeah, those are my tips to build and decorate a village in Medieval Dynasty. I think at the end of the day, the main thing that you can do to become a better village builder in this game is to just start. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, and don't be afraid to just make another village altogether. Don't forget to pay that king's tax of 1 like or 1 sub on your way out. Also, if you want some more ideas, don't forget to check out our village tour videos. And until next time, thanks for watching, and take care.